Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar presented by the U.S. Tennis Association and Move United. My name is Julianne Mills and I am a program manager at Move United. I'll be hosting our webinar this afternoon. We're joined by a number of presenters from the USTA and from Move United. We're here to share with you some great information about how to get involved with wheelchair tennis. All right, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jason Allen, the manager of USTA Wheelchair and Adaptive, and Jennifer Edmondson, USTA Wheelchair Tennis Committee Chair. Thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you, Julianne. I guess you can see and hear me at this point, hopefully. Good. Really appreciative of all the attendees and panelists for today, and extremely appreciative of Move United and all that they are doing, not only for wheelchair tennis, but for adaptive sports nationwide. We're quite excited to be on with you today to announce a new and exciting partnership that we have with Move United in order to move the dial forward in the junior wheelchair tennis space. And I'm also very lucky to be joined by great panelists as well that we'll learn and see from here in a minute, but really excited to be here with Jennifer Edmondson, who is our chairperson of the USTA Wheelchair Tennis Committee. And her and I are going to tag team sort of defining the challenge. Why are we here today? What is the big hoorah about here? Well, I would say, when Jason Harnett, Joe Wallen, and I started this job around 2016 in October, we started to do a comprehensive needs assessment of where the sport is. And we found that when we were analyzing the data, that in the year 2016, we'd only had maybe 17 juniors actually play a USTA sanctioned tournament in the entire United States. And we're talking 350 million people. And the latest CDC numbers have disabilities at 63 million in our country. So we're talking a very small portion of that. And then, of course, in 2017, we reviewed, and once again, the numbers were quite low, only around 17 or 20. So we said we needed to make a big push here in order to increase junior participation. Wheelchair tennis had a significant boom back in the 70s and 80s, but in the last decade or so, a lot of other adaptive sports have really started to get their acts together and organized, and all the other sports out there started organizing themselves, and we have a lot more competition. So we have a lot more work to do in this space to increase junior participation. I think that's enough out of me. It's a great pleasure for me now to introduce Jennifer Edmondson, our chairperson of the Wheelchair Tennis Committee, to talk about the other challenges we have.
Thank you, Jason. And I too am very appreciative of being a part of this initiative in partnership with Move United. As chair of the Wheelchair Tennis Committee, we definitely wanted to be a part of this very exciting initiative to grow junior tennis and to grow wheelchair tennis in general. And as Jason said, and as some of you also involved in the poll at the beginning of the webinar, we wanted to define the challenge. What were our problems that we needed to look at and find solutions for? And so we assembled quite a large task force, had individual calls, had several different meetings and task force identification, like just problem solving sessions really. And we met with pros, we met with players, we met with people interested in teaching wheelchair tennis. And what we found was that we have basically kind of two big areas of need. Some children and other persons with disabilities don't really realize that wheelchair tennis is an option for them, that it is a sport that is available to them. And we're going to get into more in the next couple of slides of why wheelchair tennis is such a great sport. But we also have on the other side quite a few instructors, tennis professionals who are trained to teach wheelchair tennis. Some of them are certified to teach wheelchair tennis. They are interested in starting clinics and programs. So how do we get these two groups of people together? And we know that in geographical areas throughout the country, there are not that many persons with disabilities who are interested in playing tennis. So that's a little bit of a challenge, but we know that they're out there. There are people out there who want to teach, and there are kids and adults out there who want to learn. So how can we put all these people together? And we've talked about that over many, many hours. and have what we think is a wonderful plan in place. We're going to share a lot of that with you today. And one of the key pieces to putting our plans into action is this partnership with Move United. So we're very excited to present this today, and we will turn it over now to our next presenter.
Hi, everyone. My name is Scott Elbin. I serve as the Vice Chair on the USTA National Wheelchair Tennis Committee. And I'm going to be discussing the why of wheelchair tennis. Why does it work? And, you know, this group, this partnership between Move United and USTA, it's kind of a two-pronged why. The first part is practical, you know, the actual practical aspects of the sport of tennis. And the second is opportunistic. So the practical why is that tennis is one of the most inclusive adaptive sports. You can play with all ages, all abilities. It is a lifelong sport. And, you know, wheelchair tennis is easily adaptable from the rules of able-bodied tennis. With the exception of 2 bounces, all the rules are virtually the same. So that gives wheelchair players an opportunity to play with non-wheelchair tennis players as well. You know, you've seen, you know, up, down, some called run, roll, or sit, stand doubles. That's a perfect example as well. There's just 1 bounce for this player and 2 bounces for the player on the other side of the court. And that's really all you need to worry about. You know, also it's an individual sport. So you don't need necessarily a team to play. You can certainly play with a team, but in order to play singles, you need 2 people. Doubles, you need 4. And if it's a beautiful day out and you find a wall somewhere and you don't have a hitting partner, then that can be your hitting partner. So all of the opportunities to play tennis, it's very practical and very possible. So that's kind of our practical side of why wheelchair tennis works and why we're targeting. The kind of opportunistic side you've heard is this new partnership with Move United and USTA, which we're all very excited about. You know, it's going to give opportunities not just to players, but also to providers and coaches, okay? Another kind of opportunistic approach to this is, you know, throughout the last, 2 to 4 years, the USTA has been putting a pathway into place. And we finally have this kind of continuum of tennis. And we are ready to meet the challenge that Jason and Jennifer addressed. We just need our boots on the ground. And you'll hear more about the boots on the ground aspect a little later. But, you know, along with this pathway comes a curriculum that is fun and easy for players and coaches. You know, there's different drills, there's new innovations in coaches and coaching education, and there's just more opportunities all the way around, okay? And there's also what we call a quick success in playing the sport. You know, a success in teaching a player could be striking the ball for the first time if you're very new to the sport. And if you've been playing for years, it could be winning a tournament. So that, you know, we define success. We're able to now define success in different ways. So it's just much more of a broad spectrum in this relationship and this new approach to wheelchair tennis. Now, without getting too much into our pathway, you know, we have a junior space that we're trying to build. From juniors, we move into high school. From high school, we move into collegiate. From collegiate, we move into tournaments, and even for some into the professional ranks. So we've kind of formed this pathway, which you'll hear more about in a moment. But we feel that this is going to be a much better approach and much more measurable approach to the success and growth of wheelchair tennis. Now, at the bottom of this page, you'll see Dana Mathewson. She is a wheelchair tennis player, and she has actually followed this pathway. She started off playing junior. She played in her high school team, and she's participated in tournaments and became a professional and Paralympic athlete. And we'll hear more from her, and we'll hear her story later in the presentation. But you know, she is just one example of how the pathway that we're trying to form can be put into practice and met with success. So those are the two kind of whys of wheelchair tennis. I know it's a lot of information, but I am now going to pass the baton on to Jason Harnett, who's going to take you deeper into this pathway that I have outlined.
Thank you, Scott. Excellent. And welcome to everybody. And a big thank you to Julianne and the team at Move United. I mean, how excited are we here at the USTA to have this sort of engagement with the largest adaptive entity in the country. So we're so excited. So thank you once again. My name is Jason Harnett. I am the national manager and head coach for Team USA and our Paralympic squad. So it's just an honor to be here and talk just a little bit about what this is and why we've done it. I know you've kind of gotten that from Jason and Jennifer and Scott. But going back to what Jason had said earlier, when we came into the USTA, gosh, we're on our 5th year now. We did an audit of sorts, as Jason said, looking at information at gaps, essentially what we've been missing. And the junior piece was obviously jumping off the page. You know, when you look at the numbers that Jason suggested, we knew that was something that needed some serious attention. But from a marketing standpoint, we also needed a pathway. And a pathway was just a clear and concise storyline, so to speak, from like an entry point from a young person, and what sort of career does that look like, even in comparison to other adaptive sports and other para sports that we know have been successful. And so we knew we wanted to have clear and defined landmarks that a young person would hit. And we knew NetGeneration, which was a new youth initiative at the USTA, was going to be a very, very strong entry point for younger participants coming into the sport, making that entry a little bit more palatable. I think, as Jason said earlier, and Jennifer had alluded to, it's difficult to get kids wanting to play tennis. Tennis is difficult. It's an individual sport. It's maybe not quite as social as basketball and other team sports. So it can be a tough sell at the beginning, but I think NetGeneration, we knew, could be that opportunity to make it fun, an easier way to train coaches at that entry point. So just a great system being put in place at the beginning. But we also knew, almost copying the able-bodied track, that there's no reason for kids to not go on and play junior tournaments, maybe USTA sanctioned junior tournaments, and from there play on their high school teams, integrate with their able-bodied counterparts. And then from there, making the jump to the collegiate scene, which we thought was kind of an underserved and an underappreciated part of this pathway for the last 20 years. It is our 20th anniversary year of collegiate wheelchair tennis. I did see Karen Korb is on this call, and she was part of that first Georgia State team years ago. So welcome to you, Karen. We miss you. But the collegiate piece is a huge piece, and it should be the carrot for young people, as it is, for young able-bodied kids going to college and getting a scholarship. I mean, who doesn't dream about that as an athlete? So we thought that should be kind of that main carrot that we put out in front of parents and kids, and to entice them to stay on track. And of course, as they graduate and go on to become, adults, real adults, who have jobs and lives, that they may have an opportunity to continue playing in USTA sanctioned adult tournaments and leagues, and all those opportunities, and wheelchair specific tournaments. There's just so many opportunities for adults and chairs to play anywhere. As Scott alluded to, you can play in any part of the tennis spectrum, and the 2-bounce rule has really made that possible, being the only rule change. And from there, of course, as it is on the able-bodied side as well, the professional track is really for that elite crew that can go on to the Uniqlo, which is the title sponsor for the professional tour managed by the International Tennis Federation, the ITF. That tour awaits. It's a multi-million-dollar tour. It's there's a place for wheelchair tennis in all 4 Grand Slams. We have a year-end Masters, singles and doubles event championship that we host here in Orlando. So as you can see, this pathway has an entry point and an exit point. And that exit point could be a 20 or 30-year journey, right? And how is that different than our counterparts in the able-bodied side? Not at all. You could participate in the Paralympic Games. You can participate in the Pan American Games. You can participate in World Team Cup, which is our Davis Cup and Billie Jean King Cup counterpart. all under the BMP Paribas umbrella. So we really wanted to define this pathway and be able to show it to young people and their parents. So there's an understanding that there's a full life of tennis ahead of them. And it's not to say that other sports don't have that same type of pathway, but there's no question that tennis has the most professionalized track of all adaptive sports. And I think the integrative piece of it does make it very, very enticing because of the ability for, especially young kids to play with their siblings and their parents and friends and other family members with a simple rule change of 2 bounces. What an ingenious rule change by Brad Parks and Jeff Minnebraker back in the early years to make that decision. I think it was brilliant. So as you can see, in the junior scene, as Jason alluded to, the numbers are low, but increasing steadily, and we're increasing opportunities for those young folks to be competitive and play. And I think that also is a carrot, knowing that they compete against their peers. There are opportunities for that. But college is really a strike zone for us. But again, there's life after college, as adults and aspiring professionals. So that was the impetus behind it, was making sure we had a clear pathway that was obviously defined for us internally here at the USTA. When Jennifer and our great, national committee, all those volunteers are giving us so much of their time and talents. But we all need to have something that's clear and defined. And we think we've nailed it here with this pathway. So hopefully you all can take a strong look at this and see where maybe anybody might enter. Again, if it's an adult who didn't play junior tennis, didn't go play college tennis, but they're entering at the adult scene, there's always an entry point along this pathway for just about anyone. So that's all I've got. Hopefully that was clear and concise for you all. And we'll pass it on to Evan Enquist, our committee member and also head coach of the University of Alabama, a fabulous collegiate team. I'm not going to say roll, and you know what I would say after roll, but I'm not going to say it.
It's okay.
Okay. Thank you, Evan. You let that slide.
Thanks, Jason. So my name is Evan Enquist. I'm a national committee volunteer. I serve a couple capacities, which I'll kind of explain here. Amazing job, Jason, Jennifer, Scott, at kind of explaining the challenges, the issues, the why we're all here, why this is important, and the pathway. And now we're to the point of how do we make this happen? How do we create a strategy that we can implement and start kind of creating change and creating this pathway that Jason had described. So what we're looking at right now is a map of the United States. 2 years ago, we created an initiative that would help us empower regional providers across the country. The USTA is pretty nicely separated into sections, so we'd have coverage across the states and an individual that was empowered to reach out and to start creating networks in our section, making sure that there's a connection between the provider, the junior, the organization. And this is why this partnership with Move United is going to be absolutely key to the success. And the second part that we had kind of learned after 2 years was that, we actually need a little bit more administrative power. We need some more people who could help us from maybe the national committee side. So we have our boots on the ground coaches, which are displayed here. We have 14 members that are all amazing coaches. They run their own programs. They can coach other coaches how to do wheelchair tennis. They have a lot of experience. And then now we've added another 4 national committee volunteers like myself that are going to aid in the project and continue to help expand. So after kind of our 2-year rough draft, we're at a point where we have 20 individuals, all volunteers, all amazing knowledge and combined experience that are moving towards this one direction. And so that's kind of my role, is to the implementation of this program that we've kind of created for both the national committee and the NetGen providers. So on the next slide is kind of the tasks. What are these providers doing? What are these 15, 14 regional providers across the country tasked with? First thing is create a network. We have to know who our providers are, our juniors, where they are, where they could be found, how we could introduce them, and then the amazing organizations that already have adapted sports programming. And this is a key one. Next up for you coaches, we have a very high percentage of coaches, it sounds like on this call, would be you want to get a program started. Well, that NetGen regional provider, being a tennis coach themselves, they're able to come to your city. They're able to bring you to them to do a coach's education, to give you all the curriculum you need, all free of charge, and also to show you all the grants and resources that their USTA has to offer, and in combination the resources from Move United. The next one is competition. It's one of the big things that we've kind of missed, and Jason mentioned the stat of 17 players in the country. So we've kind of altered that. We've created a tour of junior competitive tournaments, which will be released soon, and in the next few years, looking to start up a junior national championships. So now we have this competitive jump from the clinic to the red ball games and to the non-keeping score matches to now sanctioned tournament play, which will lead them into more competition down the line. And then finally, now that this pathway is in place and we can connect all the resources, we're going to grow the game. I mean, it's inevitable that we will be able to bring in more and new providers with the help of Move United, continue our outreach, and just continue to expand from there. So that is the ultimate mission and goal, and we're very, very excited and feel like we have an incredible plan and ready to move forward on it.
Thank you, Evan. And it's so great to hear from all the folks at USTA today. So Move United is teaming up with the U.S. Tennis Association in pursuit of an ambitious goal. We want 90% of the U.S. population to have access to adaptive sports in their community by 2028, when the Olympics and Paralympics return to the U.S. So here on your screen, you can see a map of the country and where we have members of Move United. These local member organizations are really the heart of Move United. And with the merger of Disabled Sports USA and Adaptive Sports USA early in 2020, we formed to create Move United, which is now the nation's largest multi-sport, multi-disability organizations in the country, offering community-based adaptive sports and recreation to people of all ages and all abilities. Currently, we have 190 member organizations in 43 states and Washington, D.C. And there's certainly some areas of the country that we are intentionally targeting for outreach. We want to make sure that there is access in people's communities. So take a look at the map. You can also check out our website to find your closest member organization and get linked up. A big part of making this happen is, being this matchmaker and bringing together the athletes, the coaches, the providers, finding the courts and equipment. With your help, we can put all the pieces of this big puzzle together. Next, I'm going to be turning things over to my colleague, Jessie Cloy. She is the competition manager at Move United.
Thank you, Julianne. Hi, everybody. So I came to Move United from the Adaptive Sports USA side of things in 2020, and we were really excited with this merge that Julianne mentioned to be able to bring programs and training and education together with competitions. And so now we're super excited to be partnering with USTA in the competition space to grow both of our networks and grow both of our opportunities for competition. So traditionally, in a year free of COVID, we have about 25 competitions that take place throughout the country, traditionally multi-sport, but some singular sport for athletes with a disability. In 2021, we're looking at about 19 events plus junior nationals. And we are looking to increase tennis opportunities at those competitions. And so, as you can see here on this slide, in 2021, we have 4 opportunities. We have a wheelchair and adaptive tennis tournament that will take place at the Texas Regional Games in April. We'll have a wheelchair tennis clinic at the UCO Endeavor Games in June. A wheelchair tennis clinic at the Move United Junior Nationals in July, and then a wheelchair tennis tournament at Angel City Games in the fall or winter of 2021. And the ultimate goal, as was alluded to already, is this USTA Junior Nationals tournament, and we're excited to be partnering with USTA to host that alongside the Move United Junior Nationals. So in 2022, We, hope to have that up and running and serve as both the nationals for our primary sports up to this point, which are archery, powerlifting, shooting, swimming, and track and field. We also include para-triathlon and table tennis. And now we're going to be excited to offer wheelchair tennis and adaptive tennis to that program. So if you guys are running programs or competitions and are looking for an opportunity to host a clinic or a competition, we would love to partner with you guys and make that happen. And, with USTA's expertise and then our network of competitions, we're just really excited for this partnership.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christopher Pochio, and I am the Senior Education Manager here at Move United. I am also a member of Move United's DEI leadership team, so I'm here today to talk really about how those two areas fuse together to support our partnership and initiatives with USTA as a part of this really exciting partnership everybody's highlighted already. What's represented on this slide in the image is two seated players holding tennis rackets, both of different races and of different ages. Both have large smiles on their faces, however, and are coming together through the sport of tennis. And that's really what I kind of want to highlight today, this principle that no one gets left on the sideline, or in this case, on the side of the court. Jason Allen had mentioned at the top of this webinar the goal of increasing participation. And when increasing youth participation and junior participation, we are committed and we need to keep this principle of no one getting left behind on the top of everyone's mind. So how we plan to do that is through two different kind of areas of focus. First, to bridge the gap between youth with and without disabilities, Move United's focus is always on equity and access for the disability community, and making sure that that access is there, especially through the different sports that we support and offer, and specifically for tennis in this case. And the second is to recognize that the disability community is extremely diverse, and no one description, fits into a box in regards to geography, race, gender, sexual orientation, age. So to make sure that as we're increasing participation in junior tennis, that we're representing diverse communities from the athlete all the way through to the coach, to the mentorship, to the the leadership level, so in every area. And how or one way Move United and USTA is going to deliver on this is as a part of our inclusive playbook, which I have. Let me push it into my screen here. I've taken my background, I'll do it. But I have a hard copy of it, but Move United's inclusive playbook, and I'll send the link through the chat in a moment, isn't just a material that's focused specifically on tennis, but it's meant to generate discussion and dialogue around disability awareness, disability etiquette for youth, and specifically children in the grades in school of kindergarten through 6th grade. So we're looking to really facilitate and have that conversation emerge to help bridge this gap between youth with and without disabilities. And where that ties into what we're doing now is USTA has signed on to become an inclusive champion. And as a part of that endeavor, they will, be supporting the work that we're doing in this space, and we're looking to grow specific sport packs and starter packs around the sport of tennis. So there's more to come, and I will send that link through the chat for anyone that's interested. But that's one of the major ways that we are planning to kind of make sure we're focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion within this partnership, and also through education as one of the main catalysts to do that.
Phenomenal. Thank you so much, Krista. We're very excited about the DEI space as well. I'm going to kick us off for this next slide here. It's basically just a small slide with 6 bullet points that we're going to go over, as well as a photo of some people sitting in a chair on a tennis court, kind of talking in a coaching workshop. So the title of this next slide is called Call to Action. And we're going to have various people present on each one of those bullets in a very quick way so that we can quickly get to our awesome guest speaker this afternoon. So Jason Harnick, can you please kick us off with how to become an athlete in terms of a call to action?
I can do that. You know, becoming an athlete is quite an endeavor, you know, and really understanding what lays before you when you try and define what it means to be an athlete. So I think goal setting early, making sure you know why you're doing it. It really doesn't matter what sport you're doing, but I think when you're talking about being a beginner, I think you have to define where you want to go. What exactly is this going to do for you? And you need to surround yourself with good people. When you're becoming an athlete, you need coaches, you need your parents, you need leadership around you that has lived the life and had that journey, and they can guide you. So I think at the beginning, especially, you have to surround yourself with good people, and kids maybe don't understand that at first, and that's where the parents come in. But getting involved, I think, with organizations like ours at the USTA and Move United, you can get some really good guidance early. But it's a long path, guys. As an athlete, we know that, but it's such a wonderful one, and it really can be. We hate to use the mantra of the USTA, it's a sport of a lifetime, but it is an investment in yourself, in becoming a better person, and preparing yourself for life in general. So there is really no downside of becoming an athlete. So anyway.
So thank you, Jason, for our first bullet point and first call to action is become an athlete, guys. All right, our next speaker is going to be Evan Inquist with the next bullet point.
So linking up with a local provider. I've displayed a map showing the full coverage across the United States, and they are just waiting to hear from anyone ready to be a part of and plugged into our network. Whether you're a coach, a junior, a junior, you just want to find out more. There's full nationwide coverage, and those contacts will be available soon on Move United as well as the USTA websites.
Thank you for that, Evan. And the next 2 bullet points are going to be covered by Julianne from Move United. Thank you, Julianne.
Yep. So we are inviting you to join the Move United network. You can check out our website to learn more about the 4 different membership levels and the various benefits that you have access to as a member. And just in about the last year or so, we have revamped what membership means at Move United. So I would encourage you, if you've looked into Disabled Sports USA or Adaptive Sports USA in the past, and maybe it wasn't a good fit, this is a really good time to take another look. We now have memberships that are inclusive of other types of organizations that couldn't previously apply, like YMCAs, Parks and Recreation, Boys and Girls Club. Ultimately, our goal is to be as inclusive as we can when it comes to sport and rec. And part of achieving that is making our membership levels more inclusive. So be sure to give that a look. The fees are very nominal, and I can pretty much guarantee you'll get more in return. And it's great to be plugged into our network. Also, if you or someone you know is interested in other ways to get involved on an individual level, whether volunteering, interning, or looking for employment in adaptive sport, we have a comprehensive listing of those various opportunities on our website as well. And now I will turn it back over to Jason to round out the last 2 points. And Jason, don't be shy. That's actually you that's pictured in the photograph there. That was our training last year for coaches. And I think that's the best part of the training is actually getting on the court, having some fun in the chairs, playing some games. And we had a really great group last year down in Orlando. So we look forward to making more of those happen.
Thank you for pointing out my baldness there, Julianne. Thank you so much. No, that was a phenomenal workshop, and looking back, it was actually the last one we were able to do before COVID hit. So, really looking forward to getting back into that space and getting on court with all the new volunteers and coaches and people who want to get involved. And those are going to be essentially, the last bullet points I talk about. Is obviously we're very excited about being able to provide some pre-coach training workshops in the near future. Move United was fortunate to get some grants through the VA and asked us to partner with them to do some workshops. I think we've got one planned at Sportable in Virginia coming up, and then Maine Adaptive Sports as well at some point this year. And then once the COVID restrictions are released with travel, we will be able to do some more. I am working with some other sections and other organizations to do some local workshops and trainings with some other people that are already existing out in the community that are more than capable of doing these trainings. So stay tuned for those opportunities. And then the last bullet point is there are training grants that are available for aspiring Paralympians that Move United is graciously supporting. And there's the web link there to get on there and sign up for them. And the applications are due by March 12th. So please go onto their website and apply for a training grant if you choose to do so. I think that wraps it up for this slide. I just, as a good teacher, want to close off this slide because it really is the reason why we're here today. This is our call to action. Become an athlete. Link up with a local provider, either through Move United or through the USTA website. Join the Move United network. Try to volunteer, be an intern, get involved by seeking employment. Try to sign up for a training workshop and help others aspire to be Paralympians. After that, we've got Dana Mathewson, who's going to talk to us about the why. Dana, can I see you pop up with the video and unmute yourself just to make sure you're set to go, and then I'll do an intro for you, please. I see she's unmuted.
It says that I can't start my video. Maybe you have to do it for me.
Uh-oh. Is that
because I had my video on initially and then someone turned it off. Okay, hold on. I'm coming in.
There
Hi.
she is. Well, everyone, this is Dana Mathewson. She is, I don't even know where to begin, amazing in every way, shape, and form. She is the #1 ranked female American tennis player in America. She's, correct me if I'm wrong, hovering around top 10 or top 10 in the world right now on the women's scene. Just came back from, were you in Australia? Yes, you were.
I was
You chose not to go. I'm sorry. You chose not to go for good reasons, but she was at the US Open, multiple member of World Team Cup, and is basically going to talk to you about why she plays wheelchair tennis and why we should get others to play wheelchair tennis and how it has changed her life. So Dana, you're on. Thank you so much.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for that intro, Jason. My head feels huge now. But let's see. Thank you for having me first off. I can give you a little Spark Notes version of like how I got involved in, I guess, disabled sports, adaptive sports, however you want to word it. I grew up in San Diego, California. I was always a really active kid. Like soccer was actually my sport of choice. Ironically, I actually hated tennis when I tried it on my feet. My mom would have me and my brother go to tennis camps in the summer, and I just hated it. I don't know why I didn't like it, but I remember not enjoying it at all. When I was 10 years old, though, I was at soccer practice and my back started to hurt really badly and my legs got weaker and weaker. Cut to 2 hours later and I was completely paralyzed, and there's really no rhyme or reason for it. I found out that I got an autoimmune disease called transverse myelitis that just attacks your spine and can leave you paralyzed. And that's what happened to me. I was in the hospital for quite some time, and my mom was the reason why I started sports again. Like, she was really adamant that I was an active kid before and I was going to be an active kid again, and that becoming disabled wasn't going to be licensed for me to become a couch potato or to give up on life or to to not be an active kid like I used to be. And so she talked to a bunch of different rec therapists. I think she subscribed to a bunch of different adaptive sport newsletters and all sorts of other outlets that I'm not really sure about. We'd have to ask her. But she found wheelchair rugby, she found basketball, and she found tennis. And initially, I was really hesitant to play adaptive sports. Like, I had no real exposure to anyone with a disability that wasn't like the age of a grandma or a grandpa. So to me, and I'm embarrassed to say it, I thought that anyone that was younger with a physical disability also had a mental disability. So I didn't understand the point of adaptive sports. And I didn't think they would be competitive, and I didn't think that they would be fun. But my mom like would drag me to all these different sports camps. Like, I would cry in the car. And then as soon as I got there and I met other kids that were like me, there was a complete change in my disposition and my behavior. I think after experiencing an injury, being able to meet other people like you is huge. It's super empowering. And that definitely happened when I went to a tennis camp, which Jason Harnett was at. I was about maybe 13 years old. And I remember I saw all the other kids that were like me. They were all running around or pushing around with rackets in their hand, and that was confusing to me. And as soon as someone kind of taught me how to do that, I started hitting balls. Something just kind of clicked. Clearly something that wasn't there when I was playing tennis on my feet. But I just fell in love with tennis. And I think that tennis is really unique in that it can really give you a lot of confidence back the way that other sports might not. Like, I used to play wheelchair basketball as well. And I really loved that it was a team sport. And I think in terms of the camaraderie, that's really great. Because again, I was a very young kid. I was 10 years old at the time of my injury. So wanting to socialize and fit in and see that you're not different from other people, that was really big. And I think basketball and tennis helped with that. But tennis was a little different, and I think more rewarding in that I got to kind of regain my sense of self with tennis because of the fact that it's an individual sport. I had to rely on myself to get things done. I had to kind of push the boundaries of what I can do. It wasn't like I was on a basketball court and if I wasn't confident, I could pass the ball to someone else. With tennis, like, if you want to be good at hitting a forehand, you have to put the work in and do that because you're the only one that's on the court that's going to be doing that day. Excuse me. And so I think that tennis was huge for me in that when I would go to tournaments, I would see that other people were, grabbing their own bags, pushing their own tennis wheelchairs in front of their day chairs and things like that, things that I assumed that I could not do with my newfound disability. It was really eye-opening, and I saw all the things that my body could still do. And I think the fact, again, that it's an individual sport, I got to watch what other people did, try it myself, see what I was capable of. And then I think there was just a big self-confidence boost that I had that I really don't think that I would have had if I didn't play tennis. With tennis, you have to learn to be self-reliant. You have to learn to set goals. And these are all things that anyone can benefit from, but especially a child growing up, that's huge. Disability or not, but especially someone with a disability, that's very big because after an injury like mine, or even someone that was born with a disability, I think there's a big tendency to lean on people more than you need to. And tennis can really show you that you can be very independent. And that's what tennis did for me. But yeah, I've taken tennis through this junior pathway, which I think you guys have talked about. I missed the beginning, sorry. But I played all throughout my high school years. I got to play in a lot of USTA tournaments. So I moved up through like the lettered divisions and then went into the open division. I got to play in college as well. I went to the University of Arizona on a tennis scholarship. So I got to play through college, which was an amazing experience for me. It was my first time being on a tennis team because, as we all know, tennis is an individual sport. So you don't get a lot of that team feeling except when you're playing doubles. But again, it's not really the same. So that was amazing for me to be able to represent my school, to be part of something bigger than myself. And as Jason Allen alluded to, I'm also part of Team USA. So I've gotten to represent the US in a lot of different World Team Cups. I've gotten to be a Paralympian in Rio and hopefully in Tokyo if it happens. So yeah, I think that tennis is honestly one of the best things that you can have a junior go into, or anybody fresh out of an injury or a disability, because the rewards are huge. I think really just in terms of finding your confidence, figuring out who you are. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. So if anyone has questions, feel free to ask me. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh my goodness, I love hearing you speak, Dana.
Thanks.
You're just amazing. And we're so lucky that you are part of our organization. I want everyone to know that Dana moved down to Orlando full time to train at the USTA National Campus. And according to Jason Harnett's reports, she is hitting the ball better than she ever has in her life. And we are excited about what's to come in your future. I do have one quick question before we move on, though.
Sure.
Can you please tell everyone how it feels to win a gold medal at the Pan American Games? I mean, I could never even imagine what it feels like to, number one, represent your country, but number two, to win a gold medal. That would just is a great question. I'd love to hear the answer to.
Yeah, it's really surreal, to be honest. I think, like you touched on, getting to represent your country is huge. And that's another thing that I should have mentioned in terms of why I picked tennis. Other sports don't really give you the opportunity to travel the world and to represent your country the same way that tennis does. I would not have gotten to see the countries that I have had I not played tennis. But going to Lima and winning a gold medal was amazing, especially in doubles. As much as I like singles, doubles is my favorite. It's a little bit more fun. It's a little more dynamic. And yeah, I think the fact that I got to, be on a podium, hear my country's national anthem, all of that was something that is more of a pinch me kind of moment. And I've actually given my medals to my mom because I don't think that I would take good care of them. So she's got them at home. So a lot of times I forget that that's what I've done. So when you said it now, I was like, I haven't won a gold medal, but I kind of forgot. But it's honestly one of my coolest memories. And thank you for reminding me of it.
Yeah, I was there and I witnessed it, and I was so proud to even be a part of that and witness you do so well. I would like to reiterate that she also did win a silver medal in singles. So double medals there at the Parapans. Before we move on to the last session, though, I think Rob Popelka really did ask a very important and good question. He would love to hear about your experiences as a junior. What was it like with your first coaches? And I know you mentioned Jason Harnett was at the first camp that you went to. What was it like from the very beginning? And is there anything that you could give us advice about with that first touch?
Yeah, so my first experience with tennis literally was with Jason Harnett and with Dan James and Karen Korb. And I think for me as a young kid coming into tennis, they did a really good job of just making my first introduction to it really fun. Because as everyone on this call knows, tennis is really technical, and I think it's really easy to scare kids away from playing it just because it's too hard. Whereas with basketball, it's a little bit easier to pick up and things like that. So I remember just having a lot of fun when I was on court, and then almost being tricked into learning things without realizing I was learning it. But I think the way that we used to have a lot of camps, that was really, really exciting. I know we still do have camps, but with COVID and stuff, that's not really happening. But having the camps, getting to meet all the different juniors, getting to meet bunches of different coaches and getting to see their different styles. But then always the common denominator was that we enjoyed ourselves. It wasn't a cutthroat type of situation, which I think once you grow up in sports, it kind of tends to be more antagonistic or competitive, but that was never the environment that I grew up in tennis. And I think that was a big reason why I enjoyed it so much. It was a fun place for me to be, like a second home. And I learned a lot. And I think when you're having fun, you're open to learning. And that was a huge thing for me.
Thank you so much for that really good primary information there. And I would like to piggyback on what Dana said, just to put a plug in for our NetGeneration curriculum. And it is designed to give kids that first experience and allow them to have fun and be engaged the whole time. When you think about how we learned, Dana, tennis 20 years ago, we used a full-size racket with a yellow ball and on a big old court. And I could just imagine, it was hard for me being able-bodied. I can only imagine how hard it is being in a chair. You're, as an able-bodied player, I'm spending more time picking up the ball than I am actually hitting it.
Yeah.
And even more so for you probably. So really, really encourage everyone to reach out to NetGeneration, and even to me personally, if you want, and I'll get you the curriculum so that we learn how to keep kids engaged and let them have fun and have immediate success so that they want to come back the next day, and so they can overcome that perceived hurdle that tennis is hard. Because if you do it the right way, it's really not hard. Now it's hard at Dana's level, but that's a different discussion. So thank you so much, Dana. I'm going to turn it over now to Julianne to close this off.
So the first question coming in, I just saw in the Q&A, Michael is asking, who are the newest top upcoming juniors in the U.S.? And whoever wants to jump in to answer or
I know I can answer, but Jason Harnett should answer that one. So Jason, take it away.
You know, it's we've got a couple kids in the pipeline. Charlie Cooper is one of our youngsters that we're really keeping an eye on Southern California. He's on an Indian Wells, 12-year-old, 13-year-old boy who really does have some serious upside. And on the girls' side, we just have a mix of young kids. One young lady, Maylee Phelps, out of Portland, has gotten our attention. She's working with one of our national coaches and World Team Cup captains, John DeVores. And there's a few other younger kids who are coming in. But this is part of the mission, right? This pipeline. We've got to flood the pipeline at the base. You kind of take that pyramid mentality. So as this initiative progresses, I think we're going to start to see more and more talent coming into the pool, which allows us at the higher levels to start picking and choosing maybe a little bit more who's going to be coming into the national program. So good question.
And another question that I think would be good to get some input on in terms of the challenge of finding players in the community. What are some tried and true ways of doing that type of outreach or ways of getting people some exposure to the sport? What would you recommend?
I think first and foremost, one of the most exciting things is this partnership to reach out to already established programs. There are a lot of wonderful organizations out there that have kids and adults playing different sports. We certainly don't want to look like we're trying to take someone from a sport, but why can't we add sports, add tennis to their already, active sporting lifestyle if that's the case. So that's a great place to reach out, to bring tennis to a whole basketball camp or to an adaptive sports conference and introduce tennis there. We've also had a lot of success reaching out to through social media, especially now with social media available, to different support groups. A lot of facilities host, for example, a spina bifida support group on a monthly basis. And Dana said this very well. I think as a parent, you're looking for opportunities for your children. You just sometimes don't know what those opportunities are. So a great social media presence, reaching out to different hospitals and physical therapy, occupational therapy clinics, rehab facilities, those are great avenues as well. We have to have a place for them to go though. And I think that's where we're trying to bridge the gap here. But that's just a couple of suggestions, and happy to get more information out to anyone interested on that topic.
I'll add one thing if you guys don't mind. Great stuff, Jennifer. Great stuff. I think for existing programs, obviously getting a program started, but leaning on the participants, word of mouth is huge. When the word of mouth, when they start saying, hey, look, we got a great program, and it starts with one or two people, I assure you they have friends. They have friends who would benefit. So I think you lean upon the participants to help spread the word. That's a real easy way to get some numbers quickly. And then those numbers exponentially roll over. So that's how it works.
Yeah. And one question to close with, I know we're coming up on time, so if we can keep the answer concise. For a new incoming provider or coach, what's a good recommendation, a starting point for their personal training, becoming a coach, and then also in terms of equipment, what should they have on hand to get started?
You wanted a concise answer. Here you go. Email jason.allen@usta.com. Find my info, and I will personally walk you through the process to get you everything you need to get started as a coach in wheelchair tennis. Happy to do it.
Yeah, and it's not a one size fits all either. There's lots of different ways of getting started or collaborating with your community partners. So maybe you personally don't have to acquire that training or the equipment. There may be others in the neighborhood that you can link up with. And we hope to help you make some of those connections through our network. So with that, I want to thank everybody that joined today in the audience, and also all of our speakers, especially Dana. I loved hearing your story today and having that to top things off. I really appreciate it. And also to anyone in the audience who had some trouble logging in today and were a little late, we do apologize for that technical difficulty. And I really applaud the number of emails that blew up my inbox of people trying to get in. So I know you got a late start, but this is recorded. It will be up on our YouTube. I am putting together a wrap-up email that you'll get before the weekend, so you can dig into all of the resources we mentioned on today's webinar, and also contact information for today's speakers so they can help you through any individual questions that you have. All right, and with that, we are going to be signing off here. So thank you all so much. Have a great day. Get out, play some tennis.
Thank you, Julianne.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Julian. Thank you.